In the next section of our training, we'll take a more detailed look at how supervisors can properly make formal referrals to the EAP when employees' job performance or conduct has become problematic, and how to identify a troubled employee. At the beginning of the training, we spoke about the different types of referrals to the EAP: the self-referral, the informal referral, and the formal referral. In this portion of our training, we'll talk in detail about making formal referrals. So when should you consider making a formal referral of an employee to the EAP? Well, if you've made reasonable efforts to correct the difficulties, such as clarifying the job requirements, you've assessed the employee as having the necessary skills and training to perform the job, and you have provided the necessary training when needed, but you are still not seeing the progress you are looking for, then you would make a referral. If an employee is having job problems and you become aware that an employee has a personal issue, for example, they may reveal to you that they're going through a divorce, a loved one has died, or some other personal issue that may be impacting the job problems. Any violation of company policy or unacceptable conduct or behavior at work. If an employee is arrested for such offenses as DUI, public intoxication, or domestic violence. When an employee tests positive on a drug screen. The EAP encourages you to refer early before job performance problems become severe or chronic. One helpful step toward early recognition and referral is to notice the signs of a troubled employee. You may also want to be careful not to enable the behavior of your employee. When a manager refers an employee to us and I handle the consultation, I always ask how long the problem has been going on. Oftentimes it has been an issue for years. That meant that there were supervisors and co-workers along the way that tolerated the behavior even though it was negatively affecting the work environment. Referrals like this often come when there is a new supervisor involved and they want to do the right thing only to find out that the former supervisors didn't address the issue properly. The point is, it is best to refer early and to try not to cover up for the employee. This does not help the employee in the long run. There are many signs that a supervisor might observe in an employee that could indicate the employee is having personal problems. We'll discuss a few examples. Being frequently late to work, missing work, leaving early, or taking longer than scheduled lunches can be an indication of a problem. If the employee is at work but absent from their workstation, or is often distracted or preoccupied while at work, can also be an indication that something is wrong. The employee might have frequent accidents or exhibit disregard for their safety or that of others. The employee is disrespectful towards or gets into arguments with coworkers or supervisors. Troubled employees often exhibit changes in their work habits, which may result in lower productivity, excessive errors, poor decision-making, poor judgment, or decreased teamwork. You may also notice unusual behavior or emotional displays like angry outbursts or crying at work. We have seen where quiet employees have become more boisterous and where loud employees have become more withdrawn. Sometimes you will even observe changes in their physical appearance. In the many management consultations that I have done, I have dealt with times where physical appearance was significantly changed. This might be where the employee is usually very kempt, and you've observed them lately where their clothing is wrinkled, their hair is out of place, or they seem more disoriented than usual. When EAPs first began, we would tell managers that the signs listed here were signs of someone that had a substance abuse problem. However, in our maturity as an industry, we realize that these behaviors can apply to people who are experiencing a myriad of other issues. Of course, not all employees with job troubles are experiencing personal difficulties or exhibit these behaviors. But personal problems can affect work and are actually very common. For example, according to the federal government's National Institute on Mental Health, an estimated 26% of Americans ages 18 and older, about 1 in 4 adults, suffer from a diagnosable mental health or substance abuse condition of some type in a given year. For many of these people, their personal issues will likely impact their work life, but because of stigma, lack of information, or for many other reasons, people often don't seek professional help. You spreading your knowledge and support of the CBP EAP can help change this. Now let's discuss some key points to remember when you refer someone to the CBP EAP. Supervisors should not think of the EAP as a form of discipline. Instead, that EAP should be used to help correct work problems by providing assessment, referral, and counseling for personal problems affecting job performance or the workplace. Don't use the EAP referral as a punishment, use it as a corrective action. Your understanding and acceptance of this distinction is crucial to the real goal of resolving the work issue. Another key point is that EAP services are absolutely free of charge for employees and their covered dependents. Last but not least is that EAP services are confidential in accordance with state and federal regulations, as we discussed earlier in this training. CBP EAP clients are informed about confidentiality either when they first call the EAP or at their first EAP session. Written consent must be obtained from the employee before EAP can provide referring supervisors with any information. Even with written consent, only relevant information is shared with the referral source. We will talk more about the written release of information form needed in a later slide. The EAP is always voluntary. However, supervisors are responsible for referring employees in two instances: when there is a positive drug screen or when there is an off-duty arrest. It is then up to the employee to decide whether he or she will accept the referral, but the supervisor must make the referral. Now we are going to talk about the steps in formally referring an employee to the EAP. We are going to review each of the steps listed in detail in the next few slides. We want to make sure you have all the information you need to assist you in making a formal referral to the CBP EAP. Before making an EAP referral, it is important to observe job and conduct problems and to consult with your LER specialist as needed. Be alert to any decline or changes in job performance, especially with the employee who has a history of good performance. You must have clear and accurate documentation of the employee's performance. Document both negative and positive performance and conduct. Record the dates and times events occur. Stick to the facts and behaviors and avoid subjective impressions. So that means you need to include only objective observations. An objective statement would be, I observed that John's speech was slurred, his breath smelled of alcohol, and his clothes were disheveled when I met him shortly after he arrived late for duty this morning at 0900 hours. A subjective observation might sound more like this. I think John was a little drunk, or maybe he was on some drug, or was just really acting weird again. He just looked really terrible today, and everyone knew this. You want to avoid including opinions, gossip, or innuendos in your documentation. Feel free to consult with the EAP before meeting with the employee. The management consultant will help you plan and prepare for the meeting and will obtain an appointment for the first EAP visit. We will then draft a letter for the employee that welcomes them to the EAP and provides them with all the necessary information concerning their appointment. The supervisor will give this letter to the employee and retain a copy. The consultant will also prepare a release of information, ROI document, that we will request the employee to sign. Even with a signed ROI, the management consultant will not disclose personal information about the employee, only general information that is needed by the supervisor. The management consultant serves as the liaison between the referring manager and the EAP counselor. Supervisors should also consult with their LER specialist for guidance on policies and procedures around making referrals to the EAP. The next step in the supervisory referral process is to prepare for the meeting with the employee by gathering your documentation and supporting materials. Also, think ahead about what you want to say in the meeting and how you want to say it. If you know the employee well, you may anticipate certain reactions and you want to be prepared for those. It is important to anticipate and have a plan of action for negative reactions by the employee. Some negative reactions you may encounter from the employee include anger, tears and helplessness, innocence and blaming, excuses and sympathy seeking. Sometimes the employee may even point the finger at you for the issues that are being discussed. Being prepared for these types of reactions will help you to stay on track with identifying the work performance issues and the need for improvement. When you set up the meeting, it is very important to meet in a private place whenever possible, so you won't be interrupted by others or by work. Outline the problems that you have observed and documented, and then give the employee a chance to provide feedback. The employee at this time may or may not acknowledge a personal problem that is affecting work performance. Clarify your expectations and the consequences to the employee for not improving. Stress to the employee that the EAP is a no-cost tool to help address problems that might be affecting their job performance. Anticipate that the employee may make unrealistic and inappropriate promises. Supervisors should avoid discussing an employee's personal problems. There are good reasons for this advice. First, the employee might tell you about personal problems you don't want to hear about and that you will be unprepared to handle. The EAP is the organization's resource to professionally assist employees with personal problems that may affect their job performance. The employee may also attempt to use a discussion of personal problems with you to gain sympathy or seek a special relationship with you, or to delay the EAP referral, or to delay the consequences of continued poor job performance. Keep the focus on the real issue for you as a manager, job performance. So every time the employee pulls you away, acknowledge what the employee is saying, display compassion, but bring it back to job performance. When you refer the employee to the CBP EAP, explain the professional services offered by the program. Discuss the confidentiality of the EAP. Explain that the employee will be asked to sign a release for disclosures about their use of the EAP, but only limited information will be shared. This includes information such as their attendance at EAP counseling sessions, what the EAP recommends, and if the employee is following through on the recommendations made by the EAP. You will give the employee the welcome letter that I mentioned earlier that will have all the information regarding the first appointment as arranged by the management consultant. The letter asks the employee to call the counselor to confirm the appointment that has been arranged. Also, you will ask the employee to sign the release of information document that the EAP has provided. Fax a copy of the signed release to the CBP EAP for their records. Sometimes an employee may decline to use the EAP. If the employee refuses the referral, that is their choice. Your role would be to continue to document, monitor job performance and conduct, and take appropriate disciplinary measures. A final and very important step for supervisors who make referrals to the CBP EAP is to follow up with the employee to monitor the employee's progress in correcting their job performance. Continue to make it clear that you expect satisfactory performance, and be sure to document the content of all meetings with the employee. Keep the EAP management consultant informed of the employee's progress at work, as well as any performance or conduct issues that reemerge after the referral. This can be helpful information in the treatment process. The EAP management consultant will communicate relevant information with you about the employee's attendance and progress once the employee provides written consent by signing the release of information form. This communication may last through the employee's use of the CBP EAP. The EAP management consultant can follow employees who have been referred for substance abuse treatment following the work with the EAP counselor and then throughout their program. This may last several weeks or months.